This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, friends, and good evening, friends. Welcome to goonlinetrainings.com. So far, you're doing the work with the project. You have completed the phase one of SSIS, where you're getting the data from the OLTP systems, and you dump the data into the staging environment. And phase two, where you're taking the data from the staging environment and loading the data to the data warehousing servers. That is what we're implementing it. But when you're loading the data to the data warehousing, so the first question you should know, what is the data warehouse architecture in your project? What is a schema that is implemented in your data warehouse? Clear? And how the data is being loaded in the data warehousing, and why that kind of an architecture this company is using it. So like that, we have to answer a lot of questions in the interview, because end of the day, when you complete your data warehousing, you should know what are the dimension tables and what are the factor tables that you have already, that you know it. The second one is that you should know how the tables are linked. Okay, what is the relationship between those two tables, or those dimension tables and factor tables? Those two means those two types of tables, that is the meaning. So do you know the complete architecture? So that is what is very important, that I'm going to be talking now. So the first questions in the on the data warehousing, the first question is, what is the schema? Okay, what is the schema of data warehouse? Can you tell me? Because you're working on the data warehousing, what is the schema? So whether it is a star schema, snowflake schema, what schema your data warehouse contains? Have you know that? Mukta, Sonia, anybody? Durga Prasad. We know?
Star schemas.
Yeah. So what is the schema that got implemented that you should know? Snowflake schema, star schema. Okay. There are two schemas, right? One is called star schema that is available, right? And there is one more, schema called snowflake schema. People who do not know, people who do not know data warehousing, please watch my videos. Okay, it's very important that you should know what is a star schema and what is a snowflake schema. But what is the schema that we are using? Let us understand. To do that, go to SQL Server. So go to data warehousing. So these are the tables I have it, right? So these are the tables I have it. Okay. Now, how the dimension table is linked to the factor table, that also you should know. Okay. The second one is that how, or people will say, they'll ask you relationship between, okay, between dimension tables and factor tables. Do you know this? Which table is linked to what? Do you know this relationship between this table is linked to this table is linked to list? Then if you know, how do you load the data to the data warehouse? Okay. So whenever you wanted to load the data, how you load the data to the data warehouse? Already we know that you need to first first load the data to which table? Dimension table. The question is that any dimension table, can I take it and load it? Or is there any order in which I need to load the data? Definitely, I know that dimension tables only should be loaded with the data. Why? Because the dimension will have a primary keys. Those primary keys will be available in the fact table, or in the foreign keys will be there in the factor table, right? If you wanted to have a data in the factor table, definitely you should have data in the child table, or in the parent table. For example, if I wanted to explain the same thing to you, I have a product table. Okay, there is a product table. I have it. So I have a product ID and the name of the product and the price of the product. So this is my table, and this is a, let us say, dim product table. Let me see like that. Okay, and there is a dim customer table. Take only few. So here I have customer ID, name of the customer, and the city in which the customer is staying. Clear? I have two tables. So this is the column here, and this is the column here. And I have a table called sales table. In that, what is the product, who's the customer, and the date of sales, and what is the amount is paid, and the quantity as bought. So only I have these three tables. Clear? So suppose I am loading the data from somewhere to the sales. So this is the primary key, and this is the primary key in this table. In this table, this is the foreign key. So this is linked to this, and the CAD is linked to this. If somebody enters product ID is 1, customer ID 100, date of sales is 21/12, let us say 2000 and 19, and amount, let us say $1,000, and quantity is 10. So when you enter the data like this, what happens if there is a primary key and foreign key? SQL server will take the one and goes to this table and verify. If the one is not there, then this row will not go at all, because if you insert some data into the fact table or the foreign key table, the same value has to be there in the primary key table. What is one? It has to be there. One may be Lux soap, right? The price is, let us say, $55. Two is, let us say, little soap, that is $34. Like that, I have some products. The customer is 100, let us say Ravi from some ABC city, and customer 101, say John from ZZZ city. Clear? If I enter one, so if I enter after inserting the data, if I enter 1 and 100, it is going to be checking 1 is there, 100 is there. If I enter, let us say 5, so 5 is not there. If the 5 is not there, if we enter 5 and the customer is Ravi bought and on the same date and he paid 1200, and this is the quantity bought it. Now 100 is available, fine, but 5 is not available here. Clear? So if you wanted to insert the data into the fact table, this is what is called a fact sales, right? When you want when you wanted to have the data in the fact table, definitely you have to have the data into the dimension tables first. Okay, so people would ask you, how do you load the data to the data warehousing? Clear? You have to tell them that always we have to load the data to the dimension tables first, then load the data to the fact table. Why? First load the data into dimension tables. Okay, table. Then what? Then load into what? Load the data into what table? Fact table. Why? The answer is just now I had explained. Clear? So this is a secret. What is the secret? Because dimension tables will have a primary key and the fact tables will have a foreign key. So when you insert the data here, definitely SQL Server is going to be going and verifying. So tomorrow data warehousing may be SQL Server or a Oracle or database 2000 or Teradata, any software. End of the day, RDBMS software. RDBMS means you have to create a primary key and foreign key. You may have a star schema, snowflake schema, doesn't matter. But end of the day, you should know that. So whenever you enter the data here, the same data has to be here. So you have to insert the data to the dimension tables first, then to the fact table. So that's what you need to know. Dimension table and packet tables, that is also you should know which dimension table is linked to which packet table. Or since we are saying our snowflake schema means what? One dimension table is linked to another dimension table, so that is what is called snowflake schema. Clear? So if you don't know what is a star schema, snowflake schema, let us understand. Okay. So what is a star schema and snowflake schema? Let me take the images like this. So this is what is called, star schema. This is a factor table. This is a factor table. These are all dimension tables. So dimension table primary key is a foreign key in the factor table. Dimension table is directly linked to the factor table. Then the schema is called as a star schema. Snowflake schema means at least one dimension table is having a connection to one more dimension table. Clear? So here we have a dimension table. All these are dimension tables. So if you see this diagram, so this is a factor table, dimension table, dimension table, dimension table, dimension table, dimension table. Dimension table is directly linked to the factor table, means this is what is called star schema. Okay. If one dimension table is linked to one more dimension table, see, this is one good example. There is a dimension table called dealer, branch, branch, dimension table called product, dimension table called dim date, and a factor table called revenue. So all of them are, these are dimensions are for one factor table. So we have a star schema. Clear? But if you see carefully, there is a snowflake schema. So this is what is called snowflake schema. I have a factor table, but this dimension table is linked to one more dimension table, and this is linked to one more dimension. At least once it is linked to one more. One dimension table is linked to one more dimension table. That's it. That is a star schema before, but one dimension table is linked to one more dimension, means the star schema will become a snowflake schema. Clear? So now in this, so if you have only 1, 2, 3, 4, this is a star schema, but this dimension table is linking to many things, and this is linked to one more dimension table. At least one dimension table is linked to one more dimension table, then the star schema will become snowflake schema. Remember this point. Now, let us understand what are the merits and what are the demerits of snowflake schema, star schema. You should know very well. Watch my videos. Data warehousing videos are available in YouTube. Without fail, you need to watch them. Now, I wanted to create what is that architecture of the data warehouse. I'll go to the data warehousing. I go to database diagrams. I right click on this and I wanted to create a new database diagram. So it is giving me all the things. Okay. But I would like to use my dimension tables and factor tables only, not everything. Am I clear? So because reference tables are not dimension tables, and it is not a factor table. It is a reference table. We were using them in the lookup transformation, right? So if you wanted to know, what is your data warehouse all about? If you wanted to know that, always you should go to the data warehousing, create a diagram, right click new database diagram. Now take only dimension. So we know dimension date you can add, dimension currency you can add. Clear? And policy add. Then policy coverage you can add. And what is this temp? Temp we don't need. Policy section we can add. Then fact tables we can add. Now revenue type we can add. Then I have transaction type I can add. And one more fact table I can add. Add purely limit table also should add. All dimension tables, all fact tables I have added. Remaining things I don't need. Simply close. Simply close. Now let me go switch off this. This is my data warehousing architecture. Have you seen this? Now, if you see, let me minimize this. What is the minimize? So let me go and try to give text editor. Something will be there. Let us say layout, equal editor, standard table designer. Something has to be there. So Okay. Now let me simply uh, minimize the diagram and let us understand the architecture. Let me increase. Now, premium is a fact table and which is getting a lot of foreign keys from many tables. And the transaction is this is one table, this is one table. But if you see, I am not able to understand it clearly. Clear, I am not able to understand clearly. But let us draw this one by one. Okay. Now, before going this, let us manually do it. Let me go to policy table. Okay. So let me go to new query window. Say select star from the dimension dot policy. So what is the primary key in this? You know already, right? What is the primary key in this? In the policy table, if you wanted to know the primary key, you simply go here to the policy table and let us see what is the primary key. The primary key is a policy ID, right? So that is the primary key, but actual business key is master number and master sequence number. Now, the next one, what we need to have, how the policy table is linked to which table, that is what I would like to find it out. Clear? So I had seen policy table, policy ID is the primary key, which is linking to any other table. Let us go and verify it. Let us take policy table. Where is policy? Let me come down here and this is my policy table. Okay. Let me not like this. Let me show you different, in different method, in different method. Okay. Let me go here. Let me take the policy table first. Okay. Let us use one by one. And a different technique I'm going to be using. Okay. Let me use policy. Policy is an independent table. It is not linked to anything. Okay. Now let us understand. This is the primary key here. You can see the primary key. Now I would like to have the next table. Right click on this. You can say add new table. So next table I would like to add either we can add coverage or anything. You can take one dimension table. Let us add it. Now I have also added one more table and these two tables are independent. Okay. This is one table. Clear? And this is also one more table. These are independent. Let me take one more table. Add. Right click on this. Add one more table. Let me take policy section also. Now close. If I add a policy section, now it is giving you a relationship. Now see, this primary key, this is the primary key symbol. Policy ID, somewhere a foreign key here. Now see this. Okay. So now you know clearly policy table primary key will be foreign key here. Now remember one more thing, there is a primary key symbol. What is the primary key in this? Policy section ID is the primary key. Now this primary key, this is the primary key. This primary key is linking as a policy section ID. This is a foreign key. Now remember how the tables have been linked. Clear? So policy table, you need to know clearly, guys. If you don't know this, then there is an issue. So there is a policy table. This is your policy. DIM policy table is linked to what? Policy table is linked to policy section. So there is a policy section. So there is DIM policy section. So these are linked. Policy is linking to this. Now here there is a primary key. This primary key will become a foreign key here. Remember this. Now policy section is this primary key. What is the primary key? Policy section ID is a foreign key in the policy section ID. So now the next table is called a policy coverage. Let me take one more table. The next table is called dimension policy. You need to study this well, guys. Policy coverage. Now remember this primary key. This table will have a primary key. This table will have a primary key. That primary key will be foreign key here. Okay, now you tell me, if you wanted to execute the packages and load the data, now if I am creating SSIS packages and loading the data, can I run all the packages at a time? No, you cannot run. You have to remember, you need to load the data into this first. Why? Because if this primary key is full, then only this primary key data can be available in the foreign key. The second table, you need to run this. So even though I am telling you dimension table you should load, but in the dimension table, which table I should run first? That you should know. How do you know? By seeing the primary key table and foreign key tables only, because one dimension table is linking to one more dimension table. Now we can clearly say that this is a snowflake schema, because fact table end of the day it is going to be linking. This is a dim policy linking to dim policy section, and it is linking to one more table called dim policy. So one dimension table is linking to one more dimension table. By seeing these three tables, you can tell it is a completely a snowflake schema. And while loading the data into the data warehousing, we know that dimension table have to be loaded with the data. But remember, which table has to be loaded first? Policy table. Because if one, if somebody is, dependent on one more guy, this guy has to be having the data first. This guy has to have the data first. Then only you can refer. If you insert something, it will go and get the data. For example, I'll take one more example. I have a primary key and I have a dim category table. Let me think like this. Now, cat ID and a category name, cat name, right? These are the columns and this is the primary key. What is the category? Category number 10, let us say category called books category. And category number 20, let us say soaps category. I have a lot of categories of the items are available. Now there is a category ID, which is the foreign key. Okay. Now dim product is one dimension table. This is also one more dimension table. And this primary key is linked as a foreign key here. Now if I'm inserting Lux soap belong to 20 category. Now little soap belong to also 20 category. I'm writing. So number 3, I'm writing the secret book. Okay, the secret book, which is very good book, 350 bucks, and this is belong to a category called books. Okay, a book name called the secret, so which is of 350 bucks, and this one category. Now tomorrow I wanted to insert the data with the help of SSIS packages. Now I know that I have to insert the data into the dimension tables first, then insert the data to the fact table. You have created SSIS package, one package for this, and one more package number 2 for this, and a package number for this, and there is a package number 4 for this. Now which packages you run? Will you run these three packages at a time? Can we run simultaneously? The answer is no, because if I am running this and this at a time, for example, I am running this package at a time, so this is also getting, being loaded, this is also being loaded. Unfortunately, one row came here, so the row, this is called, say, pen. So pen is called 12. It is a next category I supposed to get it. What is the next category? The next category 30, stationery, but 30 row did not come here. If the row number 30 did not come here, but this package is run, it got that one row. But this row, when you insert, since it is a foreign key, it goes there and verify, is it 30? No. Is it 30? No. So we don't have 30. This row will fail. This row will fail because whenever you load the data to the foreign key, we know that because of referential integrity, it is going to be going to the this table and verifying it. So always it ensures that you need to insert the data here first. Clear? Run the package number one, then it's going to be inserting the new values, and you may get the next product called pen, say 12, comes under the next category called 30. Clear? So how the package number 1 and 2 and 3 has to run? Always we have to run 1, then you need to run 2. It is not that you're going to be running all the packages. Can I call all packages at one shot in one single package? Why not? We should be able to call all the packages. We are actually running one by one every time. But one by one also, which package has to run first, that you have to know. Always you have to run dim policy, then the dim policy section, then dim policy coverage. So that I came to know because of this. Okay. Now let me add a few more things. Add new table. So what are the other things we have? Currency, let me include. So currency is independent. It is not linking to anything. Clear? So let me take this. Let me bring them down. Okay. One is linking to another one. Let me also bring this down. Okay. So these are one. So three are linked to each other. Now currency table is something here. Let me have independent table, add new table. Right click on this, add new table. Now take date. Where is date added? Date is added here. So this is also independent. So there is no link. And add a table and one more dimension, revenue type. Revenue type is also independent, which is not linking to any dimension tables. Only this dimension table is linked to this, and these are independent. This can run simultaneously, parallelly. But these no. First policy should run, then the policy section should run, then policy coverage should run. Clear? These are independent. There's no linkage. Now let me go add new table. So any dimension, transaction type. So transaction type, when I'm adding it, it is also independent. There is no link. Clear? So these are the independent: date, currency, revenue type, and transaction type. These are completely independent. Now I have total, these three, and these are 4, 7, and the remaining tables are called packet tables only. Now I have deduction, limit, and this one. Let me add limit or the deduction, anything you can have. Deduction first. If I add a deduction, lot of links have been created. See, where is deduction? Deduction is here. Deduction is linking to all these things. Clear? Now deduction is linking to deduction ID is somewhere here. This is a primary key, and you have links between these. Now see, okay, it is bringing like this. Now see what is happening. So deduction table is linked to the policy coverage because this primary key, is linking to this. What is the primary key here? The primary key is a policy coverage ID. The policy coverage ID somewhere it will be there. See, it is a foreign key. And the time ID I have somewhere here. So here time ID. So this is a primary key. This is a foreign key. Currency ID I have it here. Currency ID I have it here. So this is linked. And revenue type ID, this is the primary key, this is the symbol. So revenue type ID is linked. Now, revenue type ID is done. The transaction type ID is the primary key, and this is also linked directly here. Transaction type ID. Where is the transaction type ID? This is the one. So remaining things are measures. Clear? So what are the measures in this? The measure, these are the foreign keys. What are the foreign keys? You should know. Okay, so this is a primary key. Transaction is a foreign key, foreign key, foreign key, foreign key. foreign key. uh, okay, so these are the foreign keys. And what are the measures in this? This is the primary key. This is the primary key, right? So now measures are deduction amount, FX rate, and deduction percentage. These are the measures or the facts. Okay. So remaining values are, these are not, date created, date updated, currency YRN, source system ID. These are completely ETL purpose we had implemented. This is nothing to do with the fact. Okay. These are actually called degenerate dimensions, or these are called useless columns. Okay. So factor table should have either foreign keys, either foreign keys or measures. It should not have anything else. If you have something else, that is what is called a degenerate dimension. It is going to be having, like, source identifier. So this is also not a measure. Okay. So these are completely this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. These are extra columns which are not at all used for any purpose as of now. Clear? So these are called degenerated dimensions. Morning class I have explained all these things. Clear? So now, deduction amount, FX rate, and the deduction percentage. These are the facts. So what is the deduction on the deduction amount? What is the foreign exchange rate and deduction percentage, and how much percent of the deductions are happened for each and every policy? Policy table is not directly linked to this table. Remember, is linked to policy table is always linked to what? So policy table is always linked to, okay, if you see, policy table is linked to policy section is linked to policy coverage linked to the deduction. Clear? That's what you need to understand. So this is how the deduction table is linked. Now, let me add one more table. One more table is called premium table or the limit table. So if I take the limit table, the same thing is happening here as well. Okay. So here also, it is going to be getting, okay, you will see carefully what it is getting. It is confusing, but you can also say that it is also linking to, one table is linking to this, one more table is linking to this, and let me add one more table. Oh, sorry, this is a new table I have taken. I don't want to take the new one. Let me go to the existing one. Let me add the last table as well. Okay. Now here it is a clumsy, but let me show you what is the real diagram there. This is the real diagram. Clear? Dimension policy is linked to dimension policy section. Policy section is linked to policy coverage, currency, revenue type, dimension type, and time. This is linked to this. This is linked to this. This is linked to this. Okay. So dimension time is linked to this, and dimension type is linked to this, linked to this, linked to this. And a dimension revenue type is linked to this and linked to this. Revenue type is not linked to limit. Okay. And a dimension currency is linked to everything. So these tables are completely linked to each and everything. And this table is completely linked. This is linked to this. Clear? And whenever you load the data, you should know how the data warehousing is architected. So now if I see the architecture, it is completely snowflake schema, because one dimension table is linked to one more dimension table. And you have here one, not only one factor table, you have multiple factor tables with, a snowflake schema. It is not only one factor table. Clear? So this is the one. So currency is linked to premium, limit, deduction, and revenue type is linked to, you can see this arrow mark, deduction and the premium, and transaction type is linked to this one, this one, and this one, and this is also linked to this. So here three arrow marks, and only two, and here you have, this and this and this. This is also linked to this. Clear? So this is what is your complete TARDIS data warehouse. Okay. If you wanted to understand, if you want me to draw here, let me draw the fact table. Let me go. So let me have a fact table like this. So what are the tables we have? Premium limit deduction. Okay. Premium limit deduction. Clear? And how the tables, what are the tables we have? Let us understand. Currency, revenue type. So we have currency, revenue type. Then you have transaction type and dim time. Okay. So dim currency. The next one is revenue type. Revenue type. Then now transaction type. TXN type. Okay. Now the last one is called dim date or time. So now we know this is linked to this. Now the dim policy is linked to this. If you can see, this is linked to this is linked to this. Clear? Because the policy coverage ID, you can see, you go to the diagram and watch clearly. Policy coverage ID, you can see everywhere. The policy coverage ID, it is available in the deduction. Then you can see policy coverage ID, it is available in the limit. Okay. And you have one more factor table. Where is that? Deduction and limit, and you have premium policy coverage ID. Where is the policy coverage ID? Somewhere it will be there. So here there is here. So policy coverage ID linked to these three. Clear? So that's what you need to understand. So this is linked to these three tables. Clear? So here it is a primary key. This primary key is linking to it as a foreign key. Clear? So this is a foreign key because factor table will have a foreign key. So this is a foreign key and this is a foreign key. And here also it is a foreign key. Now dim currency is everywhere. It is linked to this. It is linked to this. It is linked to this. Okay. And dim date table is also linked to this, linked to this, and linked to this. Okay. Now transaction type. So according to this, you can go, or otherwise the same diagram is available in the PPT. Let us understand. Transaction revenue type only two. One is deduction and premium. Deduction and premium. Okay. So deduction, it is here, and the second is it is going there. Clear? And like that. Transaction type is linked to everything, I think. Transaction type is linked to everything. So transaction type is linked to this, type is linked to this, and type is linked to this. Only thing is that this primary key, it will be foreign key here. Clear? So like that, you need to understand these very well, guys. These are the different dimensions we have, how each and every dimension is working, and what are the things I have to know, and how the tables are implemented. So this is what is the complete, TARDIS, okay, TARDIS data warehouse architecture. You need to study this well. If you know, then we can understand how the data you wanted to load. If you wanted to load the data, for example, I need to run the complete data once. So we are running how? We are running a package by package, package by package. So this is not the way normally. So people will say run complete package data, all dimension tables, all factor tables you have to run at a time. So what we do, I create one more package here. You should also create. Okay. So it is rename them say data warehouse, load all dim tables. Okay, all dim tables at one shot, I should be able to load them. So I'm going to be creating. So inside this, I'm going to be calling these packages. So for that, I'm going to be using a package called execute package task. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. Total 6, right? 1, 2, 3. Total how many? 1, 2, 3. Total 6 package, right? So all of them I would like to call here. So I'm going to be using 6 total. Clear? So that is what I wanted to do it. So I go to SSIS studies DW lookup and create one more new package. Now here you call, rename this, load, not call, load policy table first. Okay. Now you double click on this. Now you go to package. Now in this, I'm going to be calling this load dim policy table. Clear? And once it is loaded, then only it has to start the second. What is the second package? Second package, you need to load policy section, because if the data is available here, because this is a primary key, it is a foreign key, then only this package can be loaded. So because of that, I am having this link. Otherwise, I need not put the link. Everything can run parallelly. After loading this, I wanted to run this one. Right click on this, say rename. Now load what data? Load dimension dot what? Policy section data. Remember this, guys. All these are very, very important. Naming conventions also very, very important. Okay. Now policy section, go here. And the second table you have to call is a policy section. You cannot run policy coverage, then it is not going to get the data. The after policy section, according to our diagram, policy section, you need to run then the policy coverage. This is the sequence in which you need to call. Clear? So the next one is called rename F2. Load dim policy coverage. Are you getting my points or not? You have to go and go here simply, say policy coverage. So after policy coverage, what we can run? So that's it. So these are the only dependency. Then remaining things you can call independently. So this is one group. Remaining things, if you wanted to load the data in remaining tables, you can call them parallelly. So here there is a sequence. Now remaining is what? Remaining table is called dim currency, dim revenue type. So this is, let me rename. So load dim currency. So it is, you can load independently. There is no issue there. Currency spelling is this. Okay. Now double click on this. Now I wanted to use the currency table here. Clear? Then after that one, you can have load dim revenue type. It is also independent. It is not linked to anything. So double click on this, go revenue type. The next one, rename load transaction type. Okay. Now double click on this. So this is the one, transaction type. Okay. Now total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Done. So this is what you should do. Okay. So when you execute the package now, if you execute the package, let me close everything. I'm closing everything. I wanted to know it one shot. In one shot, I wanted to execute all the packages. So I execute this package. So you close all of them and execute only this, or right click on this, you say execute this package.
One question. Can
Yeah,
we
please.
put a container over here? SQL container?
If you want to have other, it is grouping, right? It's grouping. Otherwise, nothing will happen there. It's grouping purpose. Okay. Otherwise, no need. Now here, so parallelly, it is going to run. Clear? So policy will start this side, and after the policy, the next table is going to be running. What is the next table? After policy only, this table will get the data. Then this table gets the data. But here, so all that these four tables, because dim timetable I did not include in here, because these three tables will simultaneously get the data. So all the dimension tables will get the data at a time. Clear? That's it. You need to schedule only one package every day morning or every Sunday or every midnight. When you run the package, you will get all the data from all tables. And it is completely incremental loading. Clear? It is a bit slow. So, but this is how, and guys, now remember, in this, I did not include three more packages, guys. So you need to include those three packages. What are they? One is limit. The second one is deduction. The third one is called what? Limit premium. So those three factor tables also should add them here, and that is for the full loading. Clear, guys? So you need to, in this project, all people have to add those three packages. I think already you have done it, and those you need to include them here. Okay. So, and this is your complete project. And whenever we wanted to call, we will be calling only this. So this is going to be loading all dimension tables data. Once that is done, then we can also call the, then once dimension table is done, then we will be able to call what? We will be able to load the packet tables data as well. Okay. So let me please
Sir,
wait. Yeah, please ask.
sir, one question on database diagram, sir. If the
Hmm.
tables are empty, shall we uh, shall we see the database diagram of that database? If the tables are nothing, no rows, shall we see the
It is
database diagram?
nothing. It is nothing to do with the data. It is only to see the primary key and foreign key. So if there is a primary key and foreign key, these
Yes,
links are shown. There is
yes,
no
yes,
nothing to do with the data. Am I clear?
yes, yes. Got it, got it.
So understanding the data warehousing architecture is very, very important. People would ask you, draw your data warehousing architecture, how the dimension table is linked to what dimension table. And if it is linked like that, and how do you link the data? How do you, create SSS packages? And how do you export the data? Or how do you load the data? In which dimension table you're going to be loading the data first? Do you use a sequential loading? If yes, what are the dimensional tables will be used to load sequentially? What are the dimension table you're going to be using parallel? You're loading data parallelly. So all these questions are asked. Clear? You can tell them that I have a data warehousing. The data warehousing has some 3 to 4 factor tables, and each factor table is having approximately 50 to 100 million rows. Okay, approximately the size of the each factor table is, okay, you can tell, because you can tell them that you cannot say I have only 1,000 rows, people will laugh at you, right? What is the size of the each factor table? You can, they'll ask how many factor tables you have. You can tell them that we have 3, but in the interview you can tell them that we had approximately some 10 to 12 factor tables are available. Okay, but currently I am working with the 3 fact tables. One is called premium, limit, deduction. And what is the row count in the factor table? Because dimension table, you may have 1 million rows here. You may have, 20 million data here, something like this. Okay. You may have 20 million data. You may have, another 40 million data here. In the currency table, you don't have much data. You may have only, let us say 1,000 rows, 1,000 currencies, not much, right? And revenue type, you may have some, 5,000 rows, because it is only revenue type. Transaction type, you may be having 50,000 rows, right? So, and currency table, you may have some 10,000 rows. Okay. And here you can tell them that we have approximately 100 million rows. Okay. 1 million equals to Indian currency 10 lakhs. 100 million means you can understand it. 100 million data here. So you may have 400 million data, right? So you may tell them that, 250 million data. You can tell them like that. Total size of the data warehouse. Also, they'll ask you. We can tell them that every month we have OLTP system. All the data regularly, once in a week or once in a month, all the data is going to come where? To the staging. From there, all the data is going to come to TARDIS data warehouse. But what is the TARDIS data warehouse size? OLAP size. So you can tell them that every month we are getting approximately 500 GB per month. Okay, approximately 20-30 million rows per month. Okay, 20 million rows per month. Clear? So, 20, 500 GB into, let us say 12 months. Per month 500 GB, approximately you can say 6 terabytes. That is 1 year data I have. Now we have approximately 3 years of data or 5 years of data. You can say 5 years of data, 5 into 6, and completely the data warehouse is too big. Okay. So this is going to be having approximately 30 terabytes of data. Clear? So how many factor tables and how many dimension tables you have? People would ask you all these things. You cannot say I have only 5 dimension tables and 3 factor tables. They will understand you're working for a useless project. You can tell them that we have 70 to 80 dimension tables and we have 10 to 20 factor tables. Total data warehouse size 30 terabyte. It is a very big data warehouse. You can tell them say 10. Okay. So here instead of 500, you can tell them that 200. Okay. So 10 terabytes is too big. So average data warehouse size in the real time 15 terabyte, not more than that. If you have more than that, the data warehouse will crash. Clear? So terabyte is not a small data. Try to understand. If the 15 terabyte is full, then SQL Server Oracle will shake. Okay, it will be very slow. So what you do then? They will be installing. They will be buying one more SQL Server, and they will be installing in the new hardware and keeping the next year data into that server. Okay, 5 years data into one server, 5 years data into one more server. Like that, all the parallelly, they're going to be having lot of data warehousing in their data centers. Clear? 200 GB per month means 12 months data 2.4. You can think like this. It is 200. 200 into 12, 2.4. Right? 2.4 into, let us say 5 years, approximately 10 to 12 terabyte of space. Approximately each, if they ask you what is the size of the each table, 100 million data, you can tell them that this is having approximately 700 GB. Each table size I'm talking about. Okay, this table size is 1 point, let us say 5 terabyte. Okay, select star from, you remember that, select star from limited table. When you write, it will hang. It is very big data, 1.5 terabyte of data you may having it here. Clear? It is a bigger, factor table. What is the size? 400, 500 millions are there. And what is the size of this? 1.5 terabyte single factor table. So these are simply very small. It is maybe say 60 GB of data. In this table, you may be having, let us say, 20 GB of data. So say 150 GB of data. In this, we have approximately 40 MB of data. In this, we may have 16 MB of data. This may be, let us say, 45 MB of data. So in this, you may be having, 67 MB of data. Clear? So you can tell them like that because this is, I'm telling you six tables, but I told you your data warehousing is having 100 tables. So currently you are not working with all the tables. You can tell them that I am working with a subset of tables. Clear? So I have a lot of tables, but in my project currently, we are not touching, we are only focusing on these tables. Clear? What are the tables? Policy section, policy coverage, dim currency, revenue type, all these tables we are currently working on. And on this data warehouse, we have created approximately, on this data warehouse, we have created approximately, you can tell them that 100 plus cubes, not only one cube, 100 plus cubes are running. Okay, so later we'll create a cube and we'll see. And how many cubes we have created? And how many cubes we have created? People would ask you all these things. You cannot say, I don't know, sir, I never seen, I never worked on this. We're going to be creating. Clear? So how many cubes you have created? So the cubes are created. Total 100 plus cubes are created. How many fact tables are there? How many dimension tables are there? What is the size of the fact table? What is the size of the dimension table? How much data you get per month in OLTP? And how many years of data you're storing, 5 years of data you're storing. So all these things you should be able to answer them clearly. Clear? So that is what you need to understand. They'll ask you, tell me about your project. Okay, so you can tell them that currently I'm working on a project called insurance domain. So whenever you buy any medical policy in London, so this company has a lot of branches and you can go to the branch and buy a medical policy. You can buy a medical policy online. So all the policy data is going to come to the OLTP system. So all the OLTP data that is available in SQL Server, that is available in Excel sheets is going to come to the staging. From the staging, the data will get cleansed and the data is going to be loaded to the data warehousing. Clear? So we have, a snowflake schema because of the complexity of the project. We have hundreds of dimension tables and, 10, 20 factor tables are available. So every weekly, every monthly, we're getting approximately 200 GB of data. So every weekly, approximately we'll get, so 50 GB to 100 GB of data, it is going to be coming. So put together, we have approximately 10 terabytes of data into our data warehouse. 100 plus cubes are created. Our roles and responsibilities includes get the data from different source systems like flat file systems, Excel systems, and OLTP systems. Initially, we are creating the packages to load the data into the staging. From there, with the help of ETL mapping document, we are loading the data into the fact tables. There is a ETL architect who's going to be giving ETL document. Based on the business rules, I'm going to be preparing what is called as a SSS packages. And we had implemented incremental loading with the help of lookup and std, blah, blah, blah. Clear? So how you have implemented, how you have tested the packages and everything, you should be able to tell them that. And for each and every package, we have also implemented a logging. Clear? And we have tested thoroughly, we have verified it, and the same thing has been deployed to the production. So this is how this is how it has been happening in the current project. Currently, my roles and responsibilities, I'm more into developing SSS packages and working with the SQL Server, creating packages for incremental loading, and I know how to deploy the packages. No, I know how to give the connection strings. All these things currently I'm handling. So I also created a lot of reports based on the cubes and everything. For the cubing, one more team is taking care as of now. I am not involving with the cubing part, but I know how to load the data from OLTP to the stage, from stage to the data warehousing, and how to, you know, load and how to schedule the packages, how the dimension tables are loaded, how the fact tables are loaded. I clearly know as of now. So like that, you have to explain your project not more than 2 minutes. Clear? Then they'll ask you, tell me what are the challenges that you have faced. Clear? So the challenges already you know it, right? So whenever you have, if you have a wrong, data conversion issues, or if you don't map the data correctly, you will get a lot of wrong data is going to go to the destinations, right? And if you don't have the proper scales and the precisions, the data is not going to go. Or sometimes if the data is not there in the primary key table, you're trying to load into the day, the foreign key tables will get a lot of primary key and foreign key. Apart from that, you will get a lot more, issues, 32-bit, Excel issues, we got it, a lot of other issues. All these issues which you are facing currently, you need to capture them and record them. You cannot ask me tomorrow, sir, what are the challenges you want me to tell in the interview? Because I'm not doing this project. You people are doing the project. Each and every error you get it, you take a snapshot in the MS Word document and you Google it. So this is the problem, I got it so and so date, and this is a solution. Bhaskar sir told me this, or I got it from Google, or some Mukta has told me, Sonia has told me this solution. Problem, solution, problem, solution, problem, solution. Now, today Abu Suda told me, sir, I'm getting a problem. Same problem you need to tell in the interviewer. Everything is working fine in the development, but I deployed the package to the production, suddenly stopped working. No, that was a challenge for me. Now, the next question, how did you overcome that? You can you cannot say I asked my Bhaskar sir. That is not the thing. So you have Googled it and found some solution. You have rectified the error. So whatever be the challenges that you are capturing today, that you should not leave it, guys. You need to document somewhere. Open one MS Word document. This is the problem. So and so date I got it. This is a solution. Somebody would have told you, or some you would have read some article, right? So those solutions you need to capture it. You will get lot of issues. Lot of issues you will get, not only till today. Tomorrow also you will get lot of issues. Everywhere you will get at least 100 plus issues to discuss. This is the issue I got it. This is what I have done it. This is the issue I got it. This is what I have done. Somebody told me, sir, data is coming till some point. After that, it is not loading. So that is the issue you found, right? So it is loading only up to the branch table, branch X reference. Then after that, it is not loading. That is the issue. What is the solution? You did not map the correct columns. That could be one solution. So that could be the reason. The second reason, the branch X reference table doesn't have any data. If there is no data there, then there is no matching happening. So the data is not coming further, not going further. So these are the two issues. So you have to tell them clearly, whatever be the issue that you found, you are not able to rectify. You say that I have taken 4 days time, 5 days time, but same thing you have to tell them in the interview. That I cannot remember. The issue which you are facing, you need to document it after the class and you need to tell them clearly. But they will ask you how many primary keys you have, how many foreign keys you have, and how many fact tables you have, how many dimension tables you have, what is the size of the data warehousing, what is the size of the OLTP, how do you get the data, how do you give the data. A lot of questions people are going to be asking. So I am making you guys ready for the interview. Clear? We'll take some more questions later, but this is how you need to understand how data is loaded to the data warehousing and what is a data warehousing architecture in the current project. Clear? We can keep this project as a current project in your CV while making CVs. I'll help you to make those CVs as well. Am I clear? So make sure that you also, it is not running. I think my system got hanged. Okay, but it is going to be working. Don't worry about it. So let me stop this. So you need to add 3 more packages to load the data to the fact tables as well. Now this is done. So tomorrow we'll work on something else. If you have any questions, you're welcome, guys. Clear?